Every civilization invents a language for who matters. And if you want to know what that language hides, look at the word widow. The book of Acts cracks that word open. When the Hellenist widows cried out, "We are being neglected," they weren't just asking for food, they were demanding a new grammar of belonging. The Greek word Luke uses, chēra, literally means the one who has been emptied. It doesn't mean single woman or grieving wife, but someone stripped of social covering, a person who no longer counts in the census. In Acts 6, that emptiness speaks, and the church must rewrite its syntax from hierarchy to community, from charity to justice, from she who lacks to she through whom the Spirit acts. It is linguistic rebellion, the Spirit teaching humanity a new language of worth. In Rome, the Latin vidua came from an ancient root meaning to be apart. Even the sound of it feels hollow, like an empty room. Under Roman law, a widow could own land but not speak in court, inherit wealth but need a man to represent her. Rome measured women by fertility and lineage, not by life itself. And yet, in the Christian story, the apostles reorganized the entire community around the neglected widows. The church becomes the opposite of empire, a system that centers those the world erases. Vidua becomes diakonos, the servant through whom justice is born. If we move east, the story widens. In Sanskrit, vidva means without husband, but it shares its root with vidya, knowledge. Loss and wisdom come from the same soil. In ancient India, a widow lost her color, her ornaments, her name. Yet in temple towns, thousands of widows now sing hymns of devotion. Their song is defiance, a recreation of identity. In Confucian China, the word guafu, or solitary woman, became a moral badge. The empire built arches of chastity for widows who refused remarriage, freezing loyalty into architecture. Modern Chinese language has begun to retire guafu and adopt new words meaning independent woman. The spirit moves even in linguistics. Words once used to contain women now hint at freedom. Across Africa, languages hold widowhood as a communal passage, not a private wound. In Yoruba, opo means the one left alone, but it can also mean the one who stands apart for strength. In Igbo, the phrase for the woman who has lost her feathers conveys both vulnerability and courage. Rituals of cleansing and re-entry mark a widow's rebirth. Fellowships of widows and microfinance circles now echo Acts 6, transforming grief into community building. Language itself bends toward resilience. In medieval Europe, the church turned vidua into a vocation. Monks wrote of the vidua sancta, the holy widow who prayed for the world. Later, industrial bureaucracy stripped the poetry away. Widow's pension, dependent, survivor, these new words translated grace into paperwork. Yet Scripture still remembers the Hebrew word for the silent one, whom God defends. The Bible never lets her stay silent. Early America inherited English widowhood from the law of coverture, meaning covered by a man. As industrial society grew, language hardened again. The widow became beneficiary, case, deserving poor. Today, she may be a grandmother living 2 streets over, her story reduced to a database entry, her name preserved in a church directory or online memorial. The spirit of Acts still whispers, share your bread, hear her cry, rebuild the table. Now, in the digital empire, the word itself is dissolving. People say, lost my partner, not I am a widow. Algorithms prefer brevity to grief. The concept remains, but the word is fading, proof that our culture can describe almost everything except sorrow. The new widows are the disconnected, the elder who can't log in, the caregiver displaced by automation, the worker widowed by an app's update. They live the story of Acts 6 again. We are being neglected. If language reveals the soul of an age, our shrinking vocabulary for loss shows an empire that monetizes attention but cannot feel absence. Acts teaches a counter grammar. Where Rome said vidua, she who lacks, Acts says ecclesia, they who share. Where algorithms say optimize, the Spirit says organize. Where modern life says move on, the gospel says be moved. The word widow has evolved from emptiness to agency, from silence to song, from dependence to prophecy. To hear her voice is to be a church community structured around compassion. Every age has its widows, the forgotten, the disconnected, the ones who reveal our moral blind spots. When the church listens, Pentecost begins again, because God's favorite word has never been efficient, but enough. Enough bread, enough voice, enough love for all who have been left behind. The Spirit's grammar awaits, and it begins, as it did in Acts, with a simple, world-changing sentence: we are being neglected.
Come wind and fire, with spirit higher, help us to